that. No, give him till 35. Yeah, I was gonna say if you want to mute, just like literally mute your mic. Stop. I mean, when I upload it to YouTube, I'm cutting it down anyway, so all this is being cut out. Yeah, but I always do anyway because it's hard to know when to start recording. So I stream it like this, and then when it comes to it, I cut it down for the YouTube. Why does it say past? Am I live? It says past broadcast. That's good. I upload now. I was gonna say, have you enabled your voice to be shared? Hang on. Okay, cool. I'm on commentary now. Oh no, I haven't shared it yet. Just tell him. No. Oh my god, I can't I genuinely can't share this fucking stream. No, I'm doing it now, it's fine. Hang on. No, he's... Oh, is he in? Night Shadow phoned me. Right, are you ready, Jacob? Good luck, Matt. Are you ready for this, Jacob? Yeah. Just mute your mic as we start. Okay. Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for the delay. We are live then. here in Bahrain for round 7 of the Cone Racing Academy Championship. It's been a long 2 weeks for me. Unfortunately, I was not around last weekend as we hit the tracks of Interlagos in Brazil, but I'm back here sitting in the box for this round in Bahrain, and hopefully I'll be able to be joined by Jacob. Are you there, Jacob? I'm not too bad, mate. How are you doing this fine evening? Yes, so as many of you know, this is the Cone Racing Academy Championship. What this is here at CRL is a chance for drivers to develop their skills, whether they're new to league racing, learning new assists, or just a little bit inexperienced compared to our championship division. This is where they come to race. We're delighted to say we have a full grid again tonight, 20 drivers, with a little bit of a change up this week though. Usually we run just a standard 25% race with a short qualifying, but we only had 6 races planned to end with our main season, which was finished on Tuesday. But this week it's a 50% race, so the drivers voted amongst themselves, and this was what they come up with, Jacob. So it's a little bit different from what we've seen before, but I'm sure it'll be full of action. Oh no, okay, so for those of you at home that might not be able to hear, I've been speaking to Jacob, but he's been struggling with some tech issues. He has joined the party and that, but it looks like you've got me just flying solo for this evening then. So Harvey is away this week, I was away last week, so we shall see how this goes. So as I was saying, this is Cone Racing Academy. If you've tuned in before, you know the drill, as I mentioned. Drivers new to racing, change and assist, etc, etc, etc. We then put it to a vote because the season finished on Thursday last week when they were around Interlagos. We then went and said to them, look, we'd love to extend it as an admin team. I'd love to commentate on it, and we want you to race. So they voted for an extra 2 tracks themselves. We've got Bahrain this week, USA next week, and we have got 50% races instead of the 25%. So it's still reduced damage, so it does mean that they can race if they hit a little bit of contact that might happen in the championship race where it takes them out. It gives them a chance to obviously still practice. So here we go then. We have got the short qualifying still. We're on board then with Pheasant Plucker as he comes up the hill towards turn 4. It's a nice tight braking zone. You want to open up the car on the left hand side of the track for the exit, shifting up to 6th gear before you approach this double 5 and 6, keeping the car nice and tight on the curves there at 6. You see, open that wide curve there into turn 8 then. It's a sharp braking zone. Make sure they're warmed up as you come through this to what is one of the nicer sectors here under the moonlight, down through 9 and 10. Very, very tight on the left hand side. As you can see, Pheasant Plucker does indeed go wide as he comes down there for the second DRS zone of this. Remember, there are 3 at this circuit. You've got the one up the hill towards turn 4. That one's your second one, and then on the final pit straight. So here we come then through turns 12 and 13. That's a death curve on the right hand there. You do not want to touch that. It will send you flying most likely into that wall, and you'll be out, coming out of turn 14 then up towards what technically is 15 and 16, but you'll see it's just one right hand, breaking about 100-meter board here with Pheasant Plucker as he goes, takes a nice bit of curb on the entry there. Open up the car then down with your throttle engine mode up, DRS open, and Pheasant Plucker goes 4th with a 129.4. so good opening up there. Black Ninja retires from the session. I think that is a Haas. Whether or not he is in the wall, I do not know. There we go. I'm reliably informed that he has got a quali ban. So does Royal Viking as well. So there has been instances. Liverpool fan goes fastest then. Looks at a 128.8 for the Mercedes driver. He'll be looking to have a good performance tonight then. The battle to look out for though is that once again of Christian Galang and M66. They've been the top 2 drivers throughout this championship. Bit unfortunate for Christian last week. He got caught out in qualifying from what I've heard. disqualified and relegated to the back of the grid, got through the pack but then crashed out, so M66 was able to open up quite a big advantage. So he will hopefully be able to make a bit of a fight today then, as we're on board with McConey. Then he's gone 11th fastest, a 1:32.3 for him, the slowest of lot. But tyre wear is quite big around here. As we got a Williams round, so that's Vegas. I said that curb at turn 11 would take you out, and you can see there it's taken its first victim. Luckily he's managed to keep it out of the wall. As we see, Digweed goes P3, then Christian Galang 1:29.1 on that previous best times. He comes in on his out lap then. So we've got 20 drivers in, 3 of them who have quali bans, I believe. So obviously we've seen Ninja retiring already, Royal Viking as well among those, and I think Racing Slade might have a ban. I'm not too sure if it is Racing Slade, but we shall see. As we look at the top 10 then, we've had 6 minutes of this qualifying session, and you can see all the top 10 then coming in to the box. As we'll
sorry to interrupt, but I think my microphone should be working again. Would you mind if I just do a quick check at the moment?
Yes, no worries. I think the technical difficulties might have been fixed. If so, I will have Jacob back with me. If you're tuning at home,
you can hear me. It's all good. Hello.
Hello, Jacob. Welcome along to your first debut here in the commentary box.
Yeah, it's gonna be great fun, mate. I can already see some really good sort of times coming up on the board early on in qualifying. It's been quite nice.
Yeah, it's quite a beautiful thing, really. This thing. One thing we had with the academy was obviously the 25% races and a short quali, but they've decided amongst themselves, and we put it to them a few different formats. They've gone for the 50%ers, so it's effectively the same as our main division, obviously minus the full damage, minus the full qualifying. I mean, you know from racing with us in the main division that it's a good one.
Yeah, it's definitely shaping up to be a very exciting end to the season, as we've got a really close fight at the top, haven't we, between M66 and Christian.
Yeah.
Fight that everyone's going to have together.
Yeah, I just want to say apologies to the viewers for the blue screen there. I accidentally pressed the PlayStation button, so that is that one sorted. As I'm trying to get the stream up as well for your comments at home. We have got I think his name's Dowkey. He's here supporting Vegas then, so it's good. It's good to see that we've got drivers coming with their own sort of fan clubs, which I've noticed a lot over recent weeks. Bringing their friends that don't race in, getting them to watch at home, and you can see there Vegas doing him proud up there in 5th place with his teammate in 4th.
Yeah, it's good because it also means that they can get a bit of feedback and criticism from their mates that they know in real life. So it's always good to share the stream with your mates, get everyone involved, and hopefully get some better racing out of it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, nothing beats a bit of friendly banter between drivers, does it? Always goes down like a treat. As Matt just rebuilt his time, so he set a 1:42 on that out lap, but I think he made a mistake. He's gone into the 1:31, so very consistent there. I think it's about 3 seconds separating 1st and 13th. 14th just a little bit behind with McConey. He's lost a second to Matt, so I think he's made a mistake somewhere, but it's a good times early on.
Yeah, provisionally Liverpool fan on pole at the moment, but that's on these soft tyres. So it's going to be interesting to see who opts for the dreaded soft tyres on this track, because you and I both know from our race earlier in the season, as well as the invitational race that we did, that softs do not last very long at all, do they?
Yeah, I think in a 50% race, it's anywhere, I mean, depending on how degraded they are, obviously short quine's a little bit different because you set as many laps as you can in that time, whereas in full it's usually only your Q2 tyres that you start on. So I remember in the league race I opted for the mediums in Q2 before I had my I got kicked in qualifying, didn't I? So I actually ended up starting on the mediums fresh because I got booked from session, but I would have gone medium soft as Digweed there 1:28.3, so the time's coming down. But I do think, before we continue with the strategy wise, I do think it is worth mentioning that keeping an eye on the times, because tyre degradation around here and track temperatures is one of the big things about Bahrain, because the longer the race goes on, the better the tyre, the better the times will be in qualifying, and then in the race, the higher the tyre wear will be.
Yeah, and we've just seen that Digweed popping up a 120. Oh, just as I say that,
yeah,
128 flat.
A 128 flat, yeah. So
yeah, some very promising results from the Racing Points. Sorry
yeah.
to interrupt.
No, I was just going to say one thing. I'm just on board with Forster. Obviously, he starts his new lap. He's currently sitting in B10. But I was going to say the Racing Points have qualified quite well as a team this year. And obviously, I spoke to Harvey about this 2 weeks ago when we were in Canada, and I said to him, they've been a little bit unlucky in race at times. Remember at Silverstone, they both were involved in accidents at the first corner, but qualifying pace for the Racing Points has been very, very nice. And it's helped them a little bit in constructors, because obviously you score points on the Sunday, not the Saturday, or in this case, the race, not the qualifying. Chris, 128 flat, then 001, so almost down in the 127s. That's nice to see there. I think the pole time was around a 127.3 in the main division. So yeah, it's kind of getting now the gap smaller and smaller between the two tiers effectively.
Yeah, I think the healthy competition between all the drivers, you know, seeing that they're not that far from each other, just encourages everyone to just push that bit further in practice, just to get better times all round. Because if I remember correctly, you know, I can be wrong in this, but I think Chris Panda at the start, he was roughly around challenging for around 4th, 5th position, probably around lower midfield. But now he's always challenging for that pole position time.
Yeah, well, he took.
It's much better.
Yeah, he took his first pole 2 weeks ago at Canada. That was his first one here at CRA. As 4-star crosses line goes 8th. I saw a Williams there had gone off. I think that was Murphy. He was off in turn 8 just before the hairpin. Sorry. So he's in P7. But yeah, like you say, Chris, it's exactly what we've wanted to see from this division. Why we have it in the first place. It's those drivers that have the potential to improve, and much like Chris and the 2 Racing Points, who are the 3 we've mentioned predominantly, they all have improved from where we started out about 6 or 7 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's definitely really exciting. It's shaping up to be a really good race here, I think.
Yeah, so Crash bails off his lap then, so he's gone into the pits. I think I think you'll know more about me, more than me about this, Jacob. But I've mentioned obviously, and Matt chimed in that Ninja has a quali ban, so he's obviously, as you see, they're retired. And Royal Vikings got one as well. I think there's a 3rd driver as well. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But how do you think having a quali ban, for example, and getting that free reign of tyres, it allows you to, I think, set a good strategy here, because it is so unpredictable around here in Bahrain. Right,
well, the other driver that we've got that has a qualifying ban is Fuad 1717, so he's going to be starting around the back as well. As he said, yeah, it can provide that option of having a free reign of tyres, but then again, it's such a tight corner around turn 1, it might be worth and a bit safer to start near the back, just because you don't want to be involved in any potential incidents and lose any bit of your wing. Especially in a 50% race, it will massively hinder your chances of having a good result if you do get involved in anything around turn 1. So let's just hope they can all get around that cleanly and just avoid any contact altogether, because it would be really a shame if this falls into that sort of situation.
Yeah, well, it's the age-old adage, isn't it? That it's not about where you start, it's about where you finish. So you could be on pole, but like you say, if you have that incident on the first corner, you will not really be in the race at the start, and you might crash out and not race entirely. So it's all about finishing in those things. We go 4 minutes to go then. But yeah, like you say, the big thing about a place like Bahrain here is, you mentioned that long straight leading up to the braking zone at turn 1. If your brakes are cold and your tyres are cold, you're going to have to brake even earlier, and you might as well, in the dirty air of the other cars in front of you, you might struggle to grind your car to a halt and able to get yourself round. Or as Christian Galang loses the rear end a little bit there coming out of turn 10.
There seems to be a big train going around turn 1.
I know.
I'm not sure if they've all just come out at the same time trying to fight for a last final push for pole, but it seems it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, M66 then. So we've talked about these guys. He's in the 127s, a 127.9.
Oh, wow.
A very, very nice lap there. Not too far compared to Chris though, so there's still time with 3 minutes left. Christian Galang's coming around the final few turns and he's about to come around turn 15. what sort of time will this be? So his championship rival, I think the gap's about 16 points. He's just gone pole. What can Christian do in that Ferrari? It's a 128.2, so he goes into P4. He's faster than his first lap that he set, but he's lost a little bit of time, I think, coming out in the second sector.
He might be trying to go for another lap before the end of the session, because as much as these tyres wear, he might be saving enough fuel just so he can go for that extra lap. You know, we'll have to wait and see about that. But it's interesting that M66 has caved and gone for the soft strategy, because he set his first lap on the mediums, didn't he? And he was sort of way off the pace of the front runners. So,
yeah, well, that's the thing with the short qualifying, is that unlike full, you don't really get the chance to set a strategy, because obviously you only need to be in the fastest 15 for Q1. So if you muck up your lap, you've got a little bit of time. Q2, you need to be in the fastest 10. So you get your chance there if everyone's on the mediums thingy. But in this short qualifying, you're literally vying for positions 1 to 20. We've got 2 minutes left of the session, and if you're not really out now or starting to think about coming out, you won't get your lap set. So I can see what you're saying, whether they're going to get fuel. Probably why we had quite a big train as well.
Yeah, and I believe that means that Night Shadow, will be starting on the mediums then, because he's still in the pits, and I think his time of 129.1 might be enough to keep him in the top 10.
Yeah, I was just about to say as well, like I was going to mention, Night Shadow seems to be the highest runner on that alternate strategy. Vegas staying in the pits. We got Slade and Demor's going for it. Demor's though is on 3 lap old mediums, so he set 130.0, but you can see there, I think he's gone for the balance compound at the start, so he's got 1 set for now, 1 set for the race, but obviously he's going to start on those about 4 laps old, so it'll be interesting to see from him. But like you said, and like we've mentioned at all, the tyre wear for all those front runners is going to be quite interesting. Like say top 6 all on either 1 lap old or setting their laps now on fresh laps. Pheasant Plucker's just coming around the second sector. He's 7 tenths down though, so I think he's made a mistake. So I don't think he'll be able to improve unless he can save fuel, which I don't think he can, because his red fuel indicator's flashing. So that'll be interesting. His teammate Digweed's coming through turn 10 now. I haven't seen him go purple in Sector 1.
From what I remember, it seems that this qualifying session's a lot closer than any other qualifying we've had in the Academy Division, just because of like how the choice of tyre compound has really compacted the whole group, because we've got Chris Panda not even a tenth, like half a tenth off of M66 first. Well, we've still got a few drivers still to go.
This is exactly what you're saying as well. I mean, I go on about it a lot when I talk about tyre strategies, but the tyre wear and everything as well here, as the checkered flag comes down then, so it's only Chris Panda that can usurp M66 at the top at the moment, unless one of the other drivers pulls something out the bag, which I don't think they will. He will be starting on pole. Chris is coming through turn 8 now through the nice hairpin. He's taken a lovely tight apex there. He's opened the car nicely, as you want with a driver in this track.
You say that only Chris VK Panda is the only one there, but I believe that the pace that we saw 4-star have last race and finishing on the podium in his debut race, he couldn't.
No, is he on a lap though? That's what I meant. Like I said, is he on a lap now? Liverpool fan couldn't improve, so the pace to usurp him. That thing, I think, based on drivers that are still on track. I don't know how many of them are on laps. That's what I was trying to say. I'm not trying to go drive. Apologies to the viewers if that's how it's come across.
Guess we'll find out soon enough, won't we?
Well, Chris has just run a little bit wide coming out of 14, so he needs to find, like you say, 2600s. He comes. I think he's very slow out that exit though. He seems to have backed off the lap. Yeah, so he backed off the lap.
Yeah.
And goes P2. What about 4-star? You mentioned him. 2 drivers left then in the session. 4-star is one. There's an Alfa Romeo in front of him. I think that's Racing Slade. As Racing Slade dives into the pit, so it's just down to a 4-star. He'll be the last driver to cross the line. Can he improve on 7th? No, he can't. He improves by 34 hundredths. So your pole sitter once again is M66. I think that's 5 poles he's had this season now. I remember him and Christian were sort of having a me first, you first. But he's taken 2 consecutive poles now.
Yeah, it's definitely shaping up to be a really exciting race now, with the sort of 2 front runners for the championship being split between Chris VK Panda and Pheasant Plucker, two really decent drivers that have shown some decent pace over the course of the season.
Yeah, another shout out to the racing points there. Top 5, both of them, second and third row. Look out, as I always like to talk about strategy, because I believe part and parcel of the race is speed, yes, but obviously your strategy's got to play a part. Night Shadow there, in 8th place, sorry, on the medium compound, so he's the highest of the medium runners. I think he's one of 3. But remember, the bottom, below 10th place, can choose to go on a different tyre. It's just the top 10 that are stuck to it. So only Night Shadow is actually obliged to use the mediums at the start without choice. So there you have it then, just 2600s between M66 and Chris VK Panda. Pheasant Plucker and the other title challenger Christian Galang are the second row, and the third row is Digweed and Lupulfan. You've got 4-star Night Shadow, Murphy and Crash that round out the top 10. So a very, very interesting session there as we move on now to the race.
Well, let's hope they can all keep it clean into turn 1 and throughout the entire race, because this could really be one of the most exciting races we've had so far, because we've all seen the races we've had in Bahrain and it's always been a treat to race.
Oh, okay, a little bit different here. It's daytime, so
yeah. Well, Tyrone might be a bit more affected now.
Yeah, it's going to definitely fire up. An apology there, live to the viewers, from Matt Warner, the Ferrari driver there. We seem to have some lobby issues with their own, but I think that adds to it a little bit, if anything, because it is a night race, so the temperature in the humidity is higher, but in the sun it's going to be different. But I want to know, Jacob, it's your first time in the box, where's your money lie?
I don't like to sort of place bets when I'm commentating. I have commentated a couple sort of football events before, but I don't like to sort of predict the race too much, because it just makes me a bit more nervous about who I'm backing, really. But I really think that M66, if he can avoid any sort of contact in turn 1 from behind, then I reckon that he might have a good shout for this. Yeah,
turn 1 is crucial here. If you can stay out of contact and avoid that early pit stop, you tend to do very well in that early stint, like you say, because there usually is a bit of contact across the grid, whether it's someone braking late, someone turning into someone, not always on purpose, obviously. No driver ever goes out to harm someone. But obviously, if you can stay out of contact, that's good for you.
Indeed. Yeah.
We've got a message here. We've got a message from Lockmoors, wishing good luck to Crash then. So he's got a nice position there, P10 on those soft tyres. And we can see there from the grid of the drivers on the left hand side that a lot of them in the bottom 10 of the grid, should you call it, that they've opted for that medium strategy. And the only one, I was just going to say, the ones looking for the early momentum is Greg there in the Renault and Racing Slade in the Alphas. They're the only 2 in the bottom 10 that are going for the soft tyres. So, like I said, they both need a clean turn 1. And we've got a bit of friendly banter here from Footio Celian, or Footloose Lion, I should say. Yeah, Footloose Lion. Wishing Greg all the best in his crash. So hopefully Greg doesn't crash. He's had quite a few little moments, Greg, in terms of hitting the wall. I remember in Australia, in the first race, he was quite unlucky, got caught out at the chicane at the back straight, but he's there. We've got a few drivers there, but here we go then. They come round to form the grid then.
The front runners might have a small issue as the sort of Ferrari behind probably slowing down just to cool the tyres at the front runners a little bit more. Seems to have played a little bit of a tactic there, which probably not too sportsmanlike, but I guess we'll see how it affects them in the race. Yeah,
so we see then. So here they come. We've got 29 laps ahead of us. Your championship leader on pole, M66. You'll see Chris VK in the Renault lining up next to him. Then it's Pheasant Plucker and Christian Galang in row 2. Digweed lines up alongside Liverpool Fan for row 4. 4-star and Night Shadow row 5, and Murphy and Crash round out the top 10. As we've got all drivers on the grid now, we wait for the engines to roar. The 5 red lights Where are they now? Here they are. So we've got got 3, we got 4, and we got 5, and we are racing then here in Bahrain, and it's a good start from the racing point just behind M66. You see there Greg in the background. Sorry, it's not Greg, it's Chris Vakepan that takes the lead then into the first corner. Can they all make the first turn? It looks like no, they've gone very, very wide. Oh, and new leader spins, M66 is round. Oh, and there's a Toro Rosso into the back of the Travis leader, and they've all gone round. And there's quite a few drivers, and the virtual safety car is out for the first time. And we said that turn 1 would be...
It is a shame.
Yeah, that's unfortunately Chris is disqualified.
That must have been for being wrong side round on the track, because he must have gone off the track, you know, unintentionally and tried to wait for drivers to pass him before he can make a move.
Yeah, official word from the steward is a DSQ for facing the wrong way. You saw him got spun at that first turn, and he was facing the wrong way with all those cars. Not much he can do, but unfortunately that is Chris's race over. Quite a few penalties as well. Crash, one of the big losers then, he's down at the bottom of the pack. One of the big movers, Liverpool fan going up to first place, Christian Galang in second. So not a very good start there as the VSC's back in, and we're back racing underway. The Liverpool fan leads Christian Galang by 1.2 seconds there. You can see they've got a gap of a second to Fezan Plucker just behind. M66 will be reeling after that start. He's dropped 3 positions in 4th. Then Racing Slade up 9 positions into 5th. Vegas
seems to have lost quite a few positions. Sorry to interrupt, but he seems to have lost it on the on turn. Oh, I don't know what.
Oh, there's a few drivers going wide at the back. Yeah. That's Matt. Matt's gone wide. As a Liverpool fan then sets the first lap of the race, as you'd expect. Crash in the back when he'll need to pit for a new wing. We can see that Matt's lost quite a few. 4-star dropping back 10 positions. Digweed 11. Who's that into the pits? So the race leader, or I should say, sorry, your pole sitter dives into the pits for a new front wing and a change of tyres. There goes his strategy out the window. Crash Game is given a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Oh, what a start.
Vegas seems to have made an insane amount of positions there, because he's on the mediums and he's jumped all the way up to 5th place, fighting with D-Mods. And with Racing Slide now, who's not far ahead of him on the softs.
Yeah,
seems to be struggling though.
The big gainer from that was Royal Viking. He's gained 12 positions.
Wow.
So he's up into PA on those medium tyres, remember. So he can go, I think, to about lap 15 or 16 on that set of tyres. Whether he shifts to the hard or he tries a 2-stop remains to be seen. But Liverpool fans pulled out a gap of 3 seconds to Christian Galang, and ironically, speaking of 3s, it's Man City 3, Liverpool 0, if that's what your sport is. So a good first half for the City there, but yeah, 2.3 seconds now as Liverpool fan goes purple in sector 2, but he's being chased hard by the Ferrari driver. Only race he hasn't finished on the podium was actually last time out in Brazil, so it'd be interesting to see what he can do here.
Let's hope he can do well.
Yeah,
yeah, Liverpool fan there. Don't know if I've already mentioned, but he's done pretty well to get up into the pole, I think. If he can keep this going, I think he'd be really proud of his sort of progress in the race. Same with Fezan Plucker, maintaining in the sort of 3rd place podium positions, because he's got a decent gap now to Racing Slade, which I think he can just keep building on and improving.
Remember is that with the softer tyres, you're only going to get about 5 or 6 laps, especially after that sort of start where you've got to brake harshly before you need to pit. As we see Night Shadow into the pit lane then, so he's fitting the harder tyres. So as Fuad, 4-star, Murphy, they've all gone harder. Crash have gone back out on the softs. M66 is out on the mediums. So a lot of strategies changing already then, as we're only on lap 3 of 29. We've still got 26 laps to go. Who's out? McConey's making a move then on Ninja down for 9th place, gone around the outside of turn 8. Nice move from the McLaren driver there, but he's missing a front end plate though, so as Ninja drives into the back of him there, luckily keeps his front wing, the Haas driver, but that could have been so much worse.
Yeah, a bit rough there. I've just looked at the race director actually, and quite a few drivers got penalties from the turn 1 incident, so we'll have to look at that incident again, you know, with the stewards and just see what really,
Yeah,
was the cause of it, and just
that is
hopefully.
definitely one for the stewards. Obviously, that's one for later on to talk about. As I've just seen Vegas then overtaking Racing Slade down the back straight. He's taking in Greg's Game Centre down the inside of Dean Watts into the final few corners. That's a nice move from the Renault driver. But very good traction from the Mercedes on the outside. Dean Watts then looking to get out as we see Racing Slade pulling down the inside of Vegas. Remember, DRS is now open on lap 4. We got a little mini train forming. Who's later on the brakes. Looks like, oh, Dean Watts taps the back of the Williams driver, and that's the Red Bull down the inside there. So Royal Viking trying to take his sticks to the outside. Luckily, did they touch the side by side as they come through turn 3 up towards the turn at 4 at the top of this hill, and it is the Mercedes driver who remains in front of the Red Bull, but he's lost a place to the Renault in the meantime. A nice little battle there for 4th place.
Well, there seems to have been a collision on turn 12 between Crash Gaming and Night Shadow. Night Shadow I couldn't quite catch, but he's received a penalty for 5 seconds and then 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits.
I saw on my race director I saw on the race director at the bottom of he's got there's Crash pulls over to the side. So what's going on with Crash there? Whether he's missing his front wing, I don't know.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, he's missing quite a lot of his front wing, so Crash needs to go into the pit lane again. Not been a very good start for him. This time he's given another penalty, unfortunately, for their Royal Viking and Dean Watts. And they're almost riding each other as they're on screen. And there's ghosted through each other as they come up the hill through turn 12. Codemasters obviously deciding that's how they want to race these cars. You can see the Red Bull glitching all over the place there. I would not want to be in the cockpit of that Mercedes.
Just looking further to the back of the pack, we can see McConey, Four-Star Fuad, and Murphy's slowly building up a little pack together on the hard tyres. Could possibly see a little sort of, DRS train sort of move them further closer to the front pack.
We've got a DRS train forming already up for the for 4th place at the moment. There's a major incident at the first corner. Greg is round, and I think it was Royal Viking was given a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with a Renault driver. So that's relegated him down to 10th place. Not a good few corners for Greg.
He's lost, 4 or 5 positions in that. It's not really what you want to see, but let's hope that there's no hard feelings about it.
We were saying there was a DRS train forming there. 4 or 5 drivers, I think it was Racing Slade, down to Dean Watts in 7th. So Greg was involved in that. 5 cars then vying for 4th place, all within DRS. As Crash Game has given another 3-second time penalty. It's not been the greatest of races for the Toro Rosso driver. Digweed then moves up past Ninja down in towards turn 11. They're coming up through.
They seem to have gone side by side, and they seem to have just edged Black Ninja off the track.
Yeah, Ninja has
see any contact.
Gone, so he's lost his colour. Luckily, he's kept out of the wall. The Ferrari of Matt now trying to get past by the looks of things, and they go side by side on the exit then. Who's going to have the better run down the back straight? Ninja gets out in front. Matt will probably have DRS then as they come onto the pit straight. Quick note to Christian Glang, he's got that gap down by about 8/10 in the last lap. He's now within 1.5 seconds of Liverpool Fan. But he seems to have made an error on the corner, and he's dropped a few seconds then. So Liverpool Fan leads by 2.7 seconds. There's then an equivalent gap between Christian and Pheasant Plucker. So the podium drivers are now about 12 seconds away from P4. So already on lap 6 we can see that there's quite a bit. There's a racing point round then. So there's a car round. I do apologise. It's the Haas in the wall. You can see there as we just jump on board with him as he's spinning. That's Ninja had that spin at turn 11 and coming out of turn 3 seems to power down a little bit too early. He was in the wall. He's relegated himself down to 12.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for him because he fought all the way up to the top 10. Possibly even a potential top 5 finish, and it is still early in the race, but let's just hope he can solidify his positions back up. He must be hoping himself for a safety car in order to bring the pack back together and fight for some more positions again.
Yeah, as we've seen Digweed just making a move down the inside of Dean Watts into turn 11 up the hill through turn 12. from the race point. He's back up to 7th. As we see the first of the leaders pit there, and Christian Galang dives that scarlet red Ferrari into its pit box. What tyres does he go for? Is it the mediums or is it the hards? I think he's gone for another set of softs, so he's looking to two-stop then.
He's probably hoping, he's probably also hoping for a safety car to happen in the next few laps, just because of the number of incidents or yellow flags he's seen around the track. It must be that he's trying to hope for that to happen in the next few laps and just hoping that he can sort of fight through the pack, seeing as it's so congested.
Yeah, the one thing with safety cars though is you never always rely on them. There are some tracks where you can expect one. I personally don't think to expect one at Bahrain. I know anything can happen. We saw it that first there was a VSC, but I don't think it's worth relying on a safety car because it is so unpredictable. For Liverpool fan, then I wonder when he's going to pit. So we've seen Christian, who was running about 2.5 seconds behind him, where this undercut's going to work. You could tell by looking at his tyres that Liverpool fans are starting to grain a little bit. He's having to run a little bit wide through certain corners. Doesn't have the traction on the exit as he has done in the opening laps. As I said, lap 6, 7, as we are on now, is about roughly when they would start going off. Pheasant Plucker then just behind him in second place, or what is a net third once he's pitted, I would have thought. He can also see a bit balding on his tyres. So if any of these dive into the pits, there you go then, Liverpool fan is in the pits.
Probably a reaction from Christian Lang's pit there, just hoping to sort of capitalise and go for the overcut, even if Christian Lang was probably going for the undercut. They're just trying to hope that their strategy helps each other out. Yeah, we've got a nice little battle for what is third, and soon will become first when they overtake the two drivers in the pit. But Vegas chasing down Racing Slade as they come in toward turn 1. Racing Slade on those softer copper tyres, and Vegas and Racing Slade exchanging a bit of glitch in there as they come up here. Now Vegas takes the lead of this race then. He's got half a second between him and Racing Slade in second. Royal Viking is third, D-Mort's in fourth. All of those yet to pit. Liverpool fan is the first of the drivers that has pit. He's in fifth. Christian Galang in sixth. A bit of a change strategy. There's a Mercedes round though. That is D-Mort's has gone very, very wide at turn 4. He was just on the inside of the track there, so that's allowed his teammate and Christian Galang through. It's interesting to see how these front runners now could sort of keep each other either at the same pace or even slow each other down, as Christian Galang and Liverpool fan both try and fight their way up. Because as Christian Galang's now within DRS range of Liverpool fan, they're both going to be after trying to fight through this pack that's sort of holding them up. It could be a really difficult race all round, just because of the sheer sort of pace that they'd have on the tyres against the wear and the sort of traffic they'd have to get through of the cars in front. Yeah, the wear is something you have to be clear. There is a possibility here to run a one-stop. It tends to be if you're starting on the mediums, you can run and then switch to the hards. Or as the Red Bull goes very, very wide. And that allows fans to have a look down the inside then. He makes a move and takes P3 away from Royal Viking. Will Christian follow them through then as he foot to the floor, gets the DRS, takes move. Royal Viking will have DRS though as well because he was behind Liverpool fan. Racing Slade struggling, Liverpool fans up 2 seconds, so you can see just how much those fresher tyres are helping. How much is Christian Galang going to lose time wise behind these cars while he tries to get through. Racing Slade runs wide on the exit. Christian takes the outside, opens the DRS, and it looks like he has passed the Racing Slade as a run up towards turn 4 at the hill. There you go, the Ferrari is in front, so Liverpool fan and Christian Galang using those new tyres to full effect. Going down the grid a little bit, M66 makes moves up for same place inside of turn 4 past Pheasant Plucker. After that early stop, he's up into P7. So most of the drivers have now pit. Still a few still to go. Racing Slade, Viking and D-Mort's among those. Your leader Vegas yet to do it, and we've got Liverpool fan and Christian Galang fighting through turn 10 for position. Christian Galang running very, very wide, losing a few tenths there to the Mercedes driver. What about Vegas at the front of the pack then? He's got 1.5 seconds to Liverpool fan behind. He's on 7 lap older tyres. Racing Slade has lost it on the death curb on turn 12.
Yeah, he's got to be careful here. Yeah, there we go, nicely done from the Alfa Romeo driver. But yeah, you don't want to touch that curb. We mentioned it in qualifying. You touch that curb, it'll fling you away. The Alfa Romeo driver feeling the full force there. That's Matt in the background behind his Liverpool fans. It's a fast lap of the race, a 1:32.1 on those medium tyres. I think Liverpool fan might be going for a 2-stop in soft, medium, soft, whereas Christian's going to be a soft, soft, medium.
Yeah.
So if you're a Liverpool fan, you need to get to about lap 22, I reckon, before you can consider. So Racing Slade has pit then after that spin. Quite expected. 9 laps, very, very good shift from that tyre selection there. Matt on 9 lap holds, then he's taken P8. Faison Plucker is 7th. M66 in 6th. D Mort's Viking, Christian Vegas, and Liverpool fan has taken Vegas then, so he's moved into the outright lead of this race. Christian Galang running very, very wide at turn 10 again, then losing about a few tenths a lap to the Mercedes driver just by going over that curve. As Royal Viking has disconnected, yeah, so unfortunate for the Red Bull driver. He's had another connection issue. He is hopefully going to be able to rejoin us. He's running very well in 4th place.
Yeah, all the way from the back of the pack after his qualifying ban. It would be a real shame if he can't manage to rejoin.
Yeah, now we watch this battle as Dean Watts takes over the Red Bull then. M66 chasing down the podium once again. He'll have the DRS here at Dean Watts as they come through the final 2 corners then. Will he be able to get this move done? A bit of graining starting to appear on his tyres. Who's that? That's Dean Watts pulling into the pits though, so a little bit easy for the championship leader. He takes 4th place.
Hopefully trying to undercut his rival there, Vegas JV. He's still out on that medium tyre.
Yeah,
it's interesting to see how long he can take that.
We got a battle going on between Clive and Night Shadow as they come through the hill at turn 12, and the Toro Rosso manages to stay ahead. 2 different strategies there. One was soft hards, one was medium hards, and the Toro Rosso stays in front. That's for 16th place, and Racing Slade came back out in at 14th. On the hards though, should be able to take him to the end. Thankfully Royal Viking is back. He's down then to 6th, but he is back in this session.
Yeah, just looking at Vegas now, if he sort of pits around now, it'd probably take him to about between 8th and 9th, just because of the time difference it would cause in the pits. It's definitely going to sort of bring him up to a higher position than when he started. I think that's... So probably he's done a good stint on these medium tyres. Yeah,
well, we've just seen he's lost the position there to Christian, the Ferrari driver, getting back through, pulling that gap now down to Liverpool fan. Oh, Liverpool fan thing as Crash retires in the pit lane. Christian Galang makes a move for the race lead, then he's dived down the inside at turn 15 and gets the move done. He takes the lead of this race. Vegas also moves up into P2. Liverpool fan with the DRS though.
He's back into 1st place.
Jumps into the lead.
For me at least.
Yeah,
he jumps. Quite a bit.
Yeah, he jumps into the lead. So I was a bit confused. I saw from Christian Galang he had a Liverpool fan had a red cross. It looked like he had left, but I think it has crashed Gameman's car, despite retiring the pit lane, has come back out, which is a little bit annoying there then, as we got a Haas in the pit lane.
His car has retired on the side of the track, so it's not going to cause a problem.
Yeah. This is on board with Racing Slade then, as he comes down towards turn 1. Looking to get past both Forward and 4-star. 4-star, you can see there just ahead, makes a move down the inside, forces Forward onto the brakes really heavily. The Alfa Romeos then fighting for position. Hello Versace. So Crash, welcome to the stream. Not the best race for you, I do agree, but you'll come back stronger next week, I'm sure.
Crash Gaming just said on the Twitch. Sorry, he's just said in the Twitch chat.
Oh, McConey makes a move down the inside.
Crash himself has said that he was driving like an idiot. Don't know what happened to me. It's a bit unfortunate, mate. Might be worth having a look at the race replay again. Just try and learn from any mistakes.
Oh, it's 4-star goes, locks up his brakes, and there's contact with Racing Slade then. So the Haas driver was fighting with Forward, locked his brakes coming through turn 10. That forced Racing Slade onto the brakes. Racing Slade now makes a move down the inside of 4-star. gets that 11th place, but that's put him under real pressure now from McConey and Murphy. There's a four-car train here as they come through the hill at turn 11. And that has cost Four-Star a few places, but Fawad managed to pull about a second gap, then he'll be out of range of his teammate from DRS, but his teammate will be quadruply. It's a big dive down the inside from McConey, but he gets the move done then through that last corner. Nice move from the McLaren drivers, opens that DRS.
Gone. Sorry.
Yeah, no, so the Royal Viking in the pit lane losing a few places there. This DRS train, there's a Williams going down the inside of the Haas. That is Four-Star and Murphy. Murphy off the power though, allows Foster if he can get a nice. He runs very, very wide on the exit though. Will lose a lot of time. That'll allow Four-Star to pull away. What about McConey? Is he going to be able to make a move on as Royal Viking and Racing Slade almost touch? Oh, and they've spun! They've spun. Racing Slade is round.
Oh no. He's just stopped there waiting for the cars to pass.
Yeah, so
which is good for him. But
Racing,
it's cost him a lot of time.
Racing Slade was waiting for the drivers, you can see there, but he was side by side with Royal Viking. It looked like Royal Viking just cut across him, and it did spin him. And we had a Ferrari round at the death curve. I think that was Christian Galan, because he's lost a lot of time. He's dropped down to 4th place now, and he comes into the pit. So I think Christian spun at turn 12, and he's lost a few places.
Yeah, speaking of pit stops and Williams, Vegas JV pitted in a couple of laps ago, and he's now past Matt Warner. Don't know what was happening there with Matt, but...
there you go, live driver radio there. Matt unable to bit for risk of double stacking.
He's hit the back of Demont. Don't reverse, don't go backwards on track, mate.
Unlucky Matt. So Vegas, yeah, you mentioned there, on the harder tyres now, moves up into 5th place. Matt will, I'm sure, be pitting this lap then. You mentioned about Vegas, as you can see, he's now up to 5th place on the harder tyres. It can take him till the end. I think the drivers ahead will all have to pit. M66 in second on 12 lap old tyres. So
yeah.
A good sort of middle stint there from the Williams driver, as you said, puts him in good position. We're on lap 14 of 29. We're almost at the halfway stage then. Liverpool fan leads M66 and Pheasant Plucker. Digweed is in 4th, and Vegas, who you're on board with right now, he is in P5, looking to chase down those leading pack. Christian Galang, the closest title challenger to M66 at the moment, down in 8th place after spinning on lap 13.
I believe as it stands that if M66 can hold us on track position, I understand he has to pit again, but if he can hold the position on track and Christian Long, while he has pitted, can make up a few places, I believe that the gap would be too big for Christian Long to be able to fight for P1 in the championship. So he's definitely got to make up some more positions.
If my memory serves me correct, it's about I think it's 16-point gap after last week.
Yeah, it is.
In Brazil, because they were fighting with each other, alternating first and second. As we've got a VSC then on track, that'll slow the drivers down.
This definitely helped Matt, who's just about to pit now. It's really helped him with his pit stop after he was hindered by Christian Long.
Yeah, there's a red point as well. Fad is in as well, so we've got 2 drivers trying to make the most of this VSC. You lose half the time you would under normal racing circumstances. I'm not quite sure why the VSC is out. I didn't see anyone round the cars I was following, but we can see now most of the drivers either on those medium or hards looking to go to the end. Bit surprised M66 didn't pit. Might have been a case of that he was past the pit lane, but
yeah,
we're waiting to see. Racing Slade
coming out of turn 12 now.
Yeah, Racing Slade's given a 5-second penalty then for speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting.
Matt Warner!
Matt Warner, what's happened there, mate?
So he's got a drive-through penalty there for speeding under the safety car. His delta time would have been just over. Remember, it's not like the safety car where you get the time to get your delta down. Under VSC. If you're over that delta, you will be punished, and Matt falling victim to that there. He will have to come through the pit lane again. That costs about 20 seconds. I mentioned about M66. He's in now, and he's fitting the harder compound tyres, so he's going to the end. No more stops for him. Where does he come out? That's the crucial thing here. I think he will come out in P4 ahead of Christian.
Oh, it's definitely going to be a big disappointment for Christian Glang, because he knows that if he'd pushed more of it, if he hadn't had any issues with those softs and spun that little bit and gone wide in those corners, then he probably would have been up there with M66 battling with him now.
Yeah, so he has indeed come out in 4th place ahead of Vegas. Vegas' teammate Murphy losing 4 places on the run down the pit straight through DRS. He's now dropped on 12. He's looking down the inside of the McLaren. Oh, nicely done. But they side by side as they come through turn 2. The McLaren driver cuts a bit of the curve, then forces the Williams wide. Will Murphy be able to make a move in the DRS, then up on the hill towards turn 4? He pulls into the slipstream, but the McLaren has got a little bit better drive on those 2-lap younger tyres. He maintains P11 then, as Matt comes into the pit lane to serve his drive-through penalty.
Just comes out just behind Clive, who could give him a bit of nice little bit of entertainment for the rest of the race, possibly, depending on how the rest of it plays out. But could be worth battling with him.
Yes, we got Liverpool fan then coming up to lap the car. He's got an 11-second lead at the front of the track, and I'm not sure what his tyre wear is, but with 12 laps to go, I think he'll have to pit again, and he'll be in a good position, probably come out in 3rd place. He's got 26 seconds between him and 3rd place, 32 seconds between him and 4th place, so he's got enough time to come in for fresh set tyres and still be on the podium. So this has worked out brilliantly for him strategy wise. The 2 racing points really going strong as well. 2nd and 3rd just goes to show how much they've improved, as we mentioned in qualifying, and how they work as a team as well, not just having one driver in the Drivers' Championship and the other drivers, but for the constructors this works as well.
Yeah, currently in the constructors they're sat in P4 with 48 points, not too far behind Ferrari, who seem to be struggling with this race. So if they can pull some good points, I'm sure they can challenge even for 2nd place. The 2nd place also have 64 points, only 3 points out of Ferrari. So there's not too big of a gap. It's less than 20 points between them.
Yeah, it's 4-star and Night Shadow exchanging 9th and 10th then as they come through turns 5, 6 and 7. That nice little S-curves there, and the Red Bull of Night Shadow gets the position. Then he moves up into P9. There's a little train forming behind them with the McConey and Murphy battle still going strong. Lap 18 of 29 then. Ninja making a move over Matt then through turn 2. Ninja on those softer tyres.
Pace on the softs, indeed. Broke a bit late there too. Bit unlucky there. Just keep fighting with him.
We've got quite a few gaps now starting to form as Digweed pits then. So the Racing Point opting for a fresh set of tyres with about 10 laps to go. It's medium tyres then for the race. So serving one of his penalties. He's out the box now. Will come out in 8th place. With that gap to the Red Bull of Royal Viking. So he'll have the fresh tyres at the moment. Interesting to see how his teammate and Liverpool fan respond, whether they come into the box or not.
Could mean that Pheasant Plucker pits the next lap just because they've got that much of a gap between themselves and the cars behind. So looking at the tyres for M66, he's got 2-lap old hards, which I'm sure he's going to be trying to take to the end of the race. Then you've got Vegas roughly for about 45 seconds off, so I don't think he'd be too sort of close to him. But I think top 4 definitely shaping up to be sort of a lot more competitive than we think, because anything can happen really.
Yeah, as I said, we've got 10 laps to go, so still a lot of time for things to change here. Dean sitting in 5th, and he's being hunted down by the Ferrari of Christian. Christian setting the fast lap of the race previous time round.
Liverpool fan of
the tyres. Christian Glang with 3-lap younger tyres and the faster compound on paper. But as we've said this entire race, it's not just about the tyres you're on, it's about how you use them. So he's got DRS now. He's going to look to make a move then down this pit straight. You can see the engine of that Mercedes in front getting ever closer in the run down towards turn 1. It looks like he's going to have to wait to the exit of turn 3. You can see there looking down the inside, but managing to stay behind. Yeah, the Mercedes a little bit loose on the exit there, rear end stepping out with a kick of oversteer. Will Christian make a move then into turn 4? He pulls to the right hand side, but he's just too far back again to get that car this time, as they're running now still on board with this battle for P5. Christian Galang looking down the inside again, looking to force that Mercedes into a mistake. It's not happening down towards turn 8 then. That nice second gear hairpin flicking the car right. You can see there Demorts and Christian running wide on the exit as he shifted down into first gear. Didn't get that rotation sorted. Now the sharp turn 10 on the left hand side. This is where you want that traction from the fresher tyres. Open up DRS. Is he going to be close enough? The gap is half a second as they come through the thing. Not this time, but I think it's only a matter of time before he does get past.
Down in the fight for P10, there's a small little path train forming, let's say, between Marconi and the McLaren, the Haas of 4-star, and Williams of Murphy. Just because Murphy not long ago was just on the tail, just on the gearbox of 4-star, but he just went a bit wide in turn 4. But he slowly made up the positions again. But it's definitely going to be interesting because they're all on similarly worn tyres. All on the hards, so it's going to be interesting whether they have to pit again, just because of
I'm sorry to interrupt, Jacob, but here goes Christian. So Christian has just taken the 5th place away from Demorts. I did say it was coming. I am sorry to interrupt again there, but he has taken that position. He'll be chasing Vegas now. That gap is 6 seconds. We've got 9 laps to go, and he's took a few tenths out already. Those mediums come into life. M66 though setting the fastest lap of the race on lap 19 with those harder tyres. So the top 3 remains. Liverpool Fan leads Pheasant Plucker by 12 seconds, with M66 then 18 seconds back, 30 seconds off the lead. Here we go then. Liverpool Fan dives into the pit lane. This is going to be crucial. This will be for the race win, and he's given a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Oh, that's unlucky for him, that.
How crucial is that going to be then at the end of this race?
Gone on to the mediums there. I think his strat of going soft, medium, medium might just work, but it really does depend on how much of a gap he can pull by the end of the race. Yeah, the racing point of Pheasant Plucker is also in fitting once again a set of mediums. He served a bit of a penalty there. You can see, no, he's gone for softs. So Pheasant Plucker has opted for a set of softs. So he's got 8 laps on those softs. He can just about do it, I reckon. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, M66 comes out in front of him then, and he takes 2nd place. So Pheasant Plucker will be faster though on the soft tyres. I'll definitely be hoping that he will be, because otherwise that's a very bold strategy. Because personally, I've not known softs that can last longer than 9 laps, but it's definitely possible if you sort of take care of them.
Yeah. Liverpool Fan just made a mistake there though, coming through turn 5. Back end stepped out a little bit, as we've got the battle you were on about there for 9th, 10th, 11th. Night Shadow, Marconi and Murphy all diving into the pit lane then, ditching those harder compounds for what looks like to be softs on the Red Bull of Night Shadow.
Seems to be Toro Rosso in the wall there. It's Clive. He's reversing back onto the track with 2 cars coming back towards him. That'll be Matt Warner and Racing Slate.
Yeah, he's reset to track and he's spun it as well.
Yeah, he reset I think that was to track. The game resetting him. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And it put him off a little bit. You can see there he went wide. That is unfortunate, as you said, for the Toro Rosso driver. He's back up and running now though, as Pheasant Plucker's given a 3-second time penalty. So those softs are a little bit too eager to get that car around. Picks up a penalty for him. So coming up to live lap, Clive and Ninja then in front of him. He'll have DRS, I think, towards this. No, he won't have the DRS then. But he's set a purple sector 3 though on that out lap, so look for him. Possible extra point today. What about Christian? What can he do? Clive retires in the pit lane.
Unlucky from him. It's one of his first, I think that's his first academy race. He must be kicking himself. I believe it might have just been unfortunate.
Yeah, Digweed setting the fastest lap of the race. The racing points then showing some pure speed in these final stages. We've got 7 laps to go here at round 7. Liverpool Fan leads by 9 seconds, pulling away on those fresh medium tyres. Good old Brucey driving his race then. M66 on the hards, being chased by Pheasant Plucker. This is the next big battle on track. I'm on board with the Pheasant Plucker, and you can see there in the foreground is that McLaren of M66. Remember, if things...
Four-Star's just pit now. Sorry to interrupt, but Four-Star's just pit now, so we'll see whether the undercut for all of those cars have worked or not, because he comes out in P12 behind where he would have been previously, which is P10.
So if I remember rightly, that's McConey has indeed done the undercut, but Murphy and Night Shadow
that's a Haas.
Unsuccessful.
Haas has spun at the turn 12. That's Black Ninja. He's sat in dead last, which is unfortunate for him because he did do really well last race by finishing in 10th. Getting a point for Haas, but it's unfortunate.
A decent qualifying as well. Pheasant Plucker sets the fast number. Oh no! I don't know if you've just seen that there, but Liverpool fan has disconnected from the session then. That's
really poor. That's really bad from him. That's not great. I'm not bad in the sense of it's his fault. It's just not great for his race because M66 is right on his tail now.
Yeah, that gap's already gone down by a few tenths through the first few corners, and Night Shadow leaves as well. Another connection issue then for these drivers. 5-second penalty for Royal Vikings. He speeds in the pit lane. We got a Haas off at turn 1 again. That looks like it's Ninja. Yes, indeed it is. He's gone wide at turn 1. He's really struggling here today. Liverpool fan then. Oh, so
that's gutting.
Gutting,
really
yeah.
But let's just hope that Pheasant Plucker can keep on M66's tail and sort of battle with him and make sure that he can sort of lose him a bit of time, just as Liverpool fan hopefully tries to rejoin.
Remember, if things stay as they are, I mean, they will change because M66 is just 3 seconds behind now, so he will overtake Bruce for the race victory. Or well, with 6 laps to go, you don't know, but will take position. But if he secures that race victory, I should say, he will win the championship today with just 1 round to go. So hopefully Liverpool fan will be able to rejoin the session any second now.
Yeah, let's hope he can. He, as far as I know, he does have another invite that he should be able to use. But let's hope he can find a way back into the session.
That gap 1.5 seconds then. Pheasant Plucker just a little bit behind as well.
Yeah, further back in the field though, Digweed on the back of D-Morts down the main straight. He's got DRS. Is he able to overtake him to turn 1? Might just be able to make it before the braking zone.
He's going to dive down the inside, Jacob. There we go. He dives down the inside using that DRS and those fresher tyres. Gets through then, but there it is. You've seen confirmation on the left-hand side. M66 takes the lead of this race. Overtakes the ghosting Mercedes of Liverpool fan to lead this race. Pheasant Plucker in second on those softs with 5 laps to go. Is he going to be able to keep them? Where you can see quite a lot of wear already. He has DRS then down this back straight in the run-up towards turn 10.
Yeah, Black Ninja just going to the pits there. Probably trying to go for a little consolation there, trying to go for fastest lap, seeing what you can do in the comparison to the pace of the front runners. Trying to see if you can influence this.
Oh, and Pheasant Plucker's really late on the brakes there. Sorry, Jacob. Pheasant Plucker really late through turn 14. Sorry, but he'll have a great run on M66 now down this pit straight. Laps of 5. His tyres are 5 laps younger. Sorry, he'll have DRS and better grip. Here we go then. DRS opens and the Racing Point looks to chase down the McLaren. He puts the engine into overtake. Dives down the inside. Is he going to make the braking zone? Oh, he runs very, very wide. Oh, and he's tapped by the McLaren driver, and the McLaren driver's round.
Oh, he spun.
M66 is round.
What a pivotal moment that is for the race. And Liverpool fans, you can see him there just taking his position back.
Yeah, the Ghost retaking P2 from the McLaren, but he's still not in this session. That would be unfortunate for him. Hopefully he still manages to bag some points. He's driven a brilliant race as the Mercedes driver. He's just been very unfortunate with his connection. He was lagging a bit earlier, and that has cost him dearly today.
Yeah, and we also see Christian Galang slowly catching up to the Williams of Vegas on this sort of medium compound tyre in comparison to the hards. Probably going to be able to get the overtake done, but we'll have to see, because he'll then be behind M66. Or now, I say that it'll be possible Liverpool fan if he can manage to reconnect, because I'm not sure what the rules are on a AI driving, but we'll have to sort of look into that.
Yeah, it's one for the stewards. Again, one for the steward panel there, but I think the standard rule with disconnections is just unfortunate for them, and if they finish low, then they finish low. But here we go. Then I'm on board with Christian Galang. He's got a 6/10 gap between him and Vegas, looking to use the DRS as Pheasant Plucker starts lap 26 of 29. Here we go then. The Ferrari pulls into the slipstream of the Williams. Gets down the inside, then he is through, moves up into P4, and he will be chasing down Bruce. Looking to get this title fight going right down to the wire next week in America. Remember, the gap 16 points now. If things stay the same, it will be 19 points going into the final round. So it will be in M66 hands, but Christian will be doing what he can to catch the McLaren driver, who is now 8 seconds back behind Pheasant Plucker. The Racing Points really taking this race by the scruff of the neck. Digweed unfortunately caught out by the pit stops and the tyre wear. He's down in at P6. He's got...
Pheasant Plucker must now be hoping, sorry to interrupt, but he must now be hoping they can build enough of a gap from the leader that he can just sort of tyre save for the final few laps, because his tyres must be like blistering at the moment, just knowing that he has been pushing to try and catch M66, and even possibly for any penalties he might have or even receive after the race based on incidents and they're reviewed by the stewards. It's probably just hoping they can do what he can.
Obviously, Christian Galang then takes third place from Liverpool fan, moves up onto the podium, but Vegas will look to have a run down the back straight with DRS. Oh, the ghost there causing some problems. And Christian Galang, looks to have pulled away. Big commiserations to Liverpool fan. He had a 20-second gap to P3 at one stage. Pitted, was 8 seconds clear, but then disconnected when it looked like the victory was his for the taking. As Pheasant Plucker 7.7 seconds now, so 3/10 gained by M66 in that last lap. I wonder what the tyre wear is like on the Racing Point at the moment, I should say. Murphy's given another penalty then. He's still fighting down in P12. Quite a few drivers spent out there.
Just looking at the positions gained in the race, it looks like Vegas really doing a really good drive here, because he started in P12, I believe, and now he's up in P4. If he can keep this going and had a clean race on track, then I believe that he could really be on track for a possible driver of the day vote, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
McConey and Fouad vying for the final point on offer. McConey's 3/10 behind, got DRS, but unable to find a way through at the moment. He's got almost half the tyre wear as the Alfa Romeo driver as they come through turn 5 and 6. As Digweed moves up into 5th place, then past the ghost of Liverpool fan. Such a shame. Doing really well. Would have had my driver of the day vote with a Bruce, but unfortunately that is just the way things sometimes go. We've got 2 laps to go then, and Pheasant Plucker pulling away at the front of this guy. He's pulled the gap back out to 8 seconds now, looking to get them to the end of the race. So as Fouad and McConey still battling side by side down the back straight. Christian Galang given a 3-second time penalty then, so that'll drop him down to 4th if things stay the way they are and Vegas doesn't have any penalties. This battle for 10th place going right down to the wire. Fouad leads McConey and 4-star and Murphy.
That's a big trend there. That's it's good. It'll be great if these guys can keep it clean, because it's really good experience for them to be able to fight like this close with another car. Oh, Murphy just breaks a little bit too late there, but he manages to avoid any contact, which is really good.
4 cars in the DRS then. The Haas all over the back of the McLaren. He's going to pull to the right hand side, but remember the McLaren has DRS from the Alfa in front.
Just hope they can get the
move
right.
done. No, yeah, no move there. Royal Viking making a move down the inside of Greg. Look at Greg there. 19 laps on those harder tyres after that spin. We've got a yellow flag in sector 1.
Seems to have gone wide.
Yeah, there's McConey. McConey spun it in the background there. You saw him as we were on board with the battle for P8. The McLaren going wide coming out of turn 3. He's lost a bit of his front wing as well. On the final lap of the race though, not much more you can do. So what about Pheasant Plucker? He starts the final lap of the race. He's got 8.7 seconds to the McLaren of M66 behind. Christian Galang in third. Is 8 seconds behind his title rival. If you're in that racing point, chasing your debut win here on the first 50% race for the Academy, he'll be beaming, I'm sure. As he comes through down into turn 8 now, that gap 9 seconds, 5/10 though taken out through those corners by M66. The gap's really forming now down the grid, all within a few seconds. The closest one is that battle for P10. It'll be 4-star trying to overtake Fouad as he comes into the DRS zone. Puts the power down then as they exit turn 15. Closing on the Alfa Romeo all the time. Murphy's dropped back now after that spin that you mentioned, Jacob. Fouad pulls to the right to go defensive. The Haas looking to go to the left hand side, go round the outside of turn 1. Do they make the corner? Yes, they do. It's all close as they're side by side through 2 and 3. The Alfa Romeo there stays in front though, but the Haas will have DRS as they come up the hill towards turn 4. Is it going to be a late lunge on the final lap by the Haas driver? There he goes down the inside.
Oh, and a good switch.
And takes it as Pheasant Plucker crosses the line then. While we're fighting on that, Pheasant Plucker takes the victory here in Bahrain in the 50% lap, and M66 will cross the line second then. So a debut win for the Racing Point driver. Christian Galang will come across and take the final podium position. What a race.
Yeah. Vegas in 4th. Oh, it dropped down to 5th.
No, so Digweed P4. What a race for the Racing Points, really taking the race by the scruff of their neck, as Dean Watts comes in 6th. Great race from him there. Liverpool fan will come across the line in 7th, but it could have been so much more for him had his connection held up. We await the battle for the remaining points, I should say. Royal Viking seems to pull away from Greg. Looks like he'll have 8th place sorted, providing he can get around the final few corners.
Yeah, he's had a good race, I think, Greg. He's done pretty well to sort of fight through the pack and sort of maintain his positions, because he's been involved in a lot of battles, so that's really good for him.
Yeah, he was involved in so there you go. 4-star takes 9th. Royal Viking in 10th. He drops out. Fouad takes 10th then. So Royal Viking struggling with penalties. He drops out the points. Fouad takes 1 for the Alfa Romeo. Murphy just behind them in the Williams. As we wait for McConey, who was in that battle and spun, unfortunately. He crosses the line, and that is it. Pheasant Plucker then takes the win for Racing Point. The first time we have seen a winner not from the McLaren of M66 or the Ferrari of Christian Galang. Wow, that soft strategy really paying dividends for him there. He takes that trophy, celebrates in style, but more importantly, the championship battle goes into the final race of the season next week in USA. The gap now 19 points between M66 at the top and Christian Galang in second.
So Draper, who's your driver of the day? Who do you think deserves the reward?
I believe it has to go to the Racing Point of Pheasant Plucker. I had a very good qualifying. You can see there, started in third on the second row, took advantage of what was going on in the race, used that 2-stop to his advantage, and takes his maiden victory.
Yeah,
so we can see there.
He drove a really good race. And I'm really happy for him. He's won his first win, and he's done very well to sort of fight past M66, and yeah, he's done really well.
Commiserations once again to Bruce though, was doing so well, had a big lead at the front. Unfortunately, connection issues costing him there. So that is it for another week of the Cone Racing Academy. Thank you very much for joining me, Jacob. Hope you've enjoyed watching at home. and hopefully you'll be able to join us again next week as we take on the Circuit of the Americas for the final race of this season.